Hello, everyone. My name is Brennan Mark. That noise you're hearing is my ventilator, and thank you for tuning in. The page turners, they were not my Star Wars podcast. Today we're going to talk about lightsabers. One of the most iconic, if not the most iconic image of all of Star Wars. Now, before we do that, let me just add an amendment to yesterday's podcast. My cousin mentioned Ahsoka. Now, yesterday I was talking about why I didn't believe in gray Jedi. Now, it may have been a question of semantics. I do not believe, personally, that it's possible for someone to say that they're a gray Jedi, and for that actually to be true. Now, in Ahsoka's case, Ahsoka said quite clearly to Vader, in the episode Twilight of the Apprentice, the season finale of season 2 of the Star Wars Rebels, Ahsoka says to Vader, "I am no Jedi." So I think that what we're dealing with here is that it's really a question of semantics. Yesterday was more of an argument why I did not believe that someone who was a Jedi could be a gray Jedi, but there can be Force users that are gray. And now I don't even know if gray is the right term. Ahsoka still fought for the light. Just was not a member of the Jedi denomination. So, but Ahsoka's an interesting example, but I think to me, when she said, "I am no Jedi," I think was a very important moment. In basically saying she was out for revenge, which is not the Jedi way, but she said, "I am no Jedi." So you can have more morally ambiguous, I think, Force users, but it would be difficult to be a Jedi and claim to be a gray Jedi. You know, it's a question of semantics. Okay, that being said, let's talk about lightsabers. Lightsabers are the iconic weapons of Star Wars. As Obi-Wan says, this is the weapon of a Jedi Knight. Not as clumsy or random as a blaster. An elegant weapon for a more civilized age. Lightsabers identified Jedi. That image of the lightsaber was iconic in the minds of people throughout the galaxy. Yeah, laser swords, as they were called quite often. Even George Lucas himself called them laser swords. Now, it's very interesting, the use of lightsabers in Star Wars. This visually very much sets it apart from other science fiction. Though, to be fair, Star Wars is science fantasy. But this sets it apart because it's an era of laser guns. Ray guns, laser guns, and yet you've got people running around with swords. And as we first see in, I believe in Return of the Jedi, lightsabers are very effective in an era of laser blasters and laser guns because lightsabers can deflect laser bolts. So this means a Jedi could rush into a battlefield where guns are blazing and yet be able to deflect and be protected from the laser blasts. It really gives it an iconic look, and it's really unique because you see someone holding a lightsaber and you know what that means. It typically means they have the Force. It typically means that they are, no pun intended, a force to be reckoned with. Now, let's talk briefly about what the lightsaber means. Now, as we've often seen, the lightsaber colors represent different aspects. The dark side Force users, whether they be Sith or just dark side Force users, all have red blades. At least that we've seen on film. We know that there are other colors, and I think the red is striking because it gives it a blood red look, which very much suggests evil visually. And the Jedi or light side Force users use blue and green primarily. What we see in others, aqua, purple. Ahsoka, who is a Force user using white blades. But in terms of what we've seen on film, the lightsabers that wielded by lightsiders have been purple, green, blue, aqua, and yellow. And I think, I'm not exactly sure why it is, they explain in the comics, in the canon comics, I don't know if I entirely agree with this, that when a Force user goes to the dark side, they take a lightsaber crystal and they perform a Force power on it called bleeding the crystal. Basically bleeding the crystal of its energy and turning it red. Now, I believe that's how I interpreted what was in the comics, though. To be fair, I'm a little behind in the comic books. Now, why is it that red is so associated with the dark side? I think that what we're dealing with is the Jedi. You look at their robes, you look at their architecture, you look at their lightsabers. You're dealing more with what you might call earthen tones. Whereas the Darksiders represent more of a militarized, fascist, regimented look. And there's something about the blood red lightsaber colors that seem to go along with that sense of the dark side being very impersonal. Not very earthen, but very mechanized. At least that's how I look at it. And also just visually, it's to distinguish the characters. You know in the films when you see a Darksider when they have a red blade. And you know a Lightsider when they usually have a blue or green blade. So those are my thoughts on the lightsabers and what they mean in Star Wars. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to tell you what lightsaber I would like to have. Stay tuned to this word from our sponsor. Hello there, this is Brennan Marr, host of Page Turners They Were Not, a Star Wars podcast. And I'm here to tell you about Anchor. Anchor is the best way to make a podcast. Why is that? Well, first off, it's free. Yes, you heard me right. Anchor is free. Anchor has all the tools you need to make a podcast from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you on various platforms. including Spotify and Apple Podcast. You can make money from the podcast. And get this, with no minimum listenership. That means you can make money even if no one listens to your podcast. That, of course, is not ideal, as Anchor will allow you to spread your podcast, bring in more viewers, and you can make more money because of it. Everything you need to make a podcast is in one place on Anchor. If you're interested, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Thank you, and may the force be with you. Okay, and that was my word about Anchor. All right. My own lightsaber. Oh. It's interesting to decide what color blade. Now, as we've seen in Star Wars, there are many different kinds of sabers in terms of their hilts. From Kylo Ren's crossguard saber to Darth Maul's double saber. Double-bladed saber. Count Dooku's curved hilts. Rey's lightsaber made out of the end of her staff. And of course, with hilts, you see many different colors. Kind of a chrome look in a lot of them. Vader's with the black blade guard. All kinds of designs. But I'd probably want to keep mine simple. I would probably do a single-bladed lightsaber hilt. It would probably be a fairly simple hilt. I think I've always liked the design of Obi-Wan's lightsaber that we see in A New Hope, which Luke replicated with his lightsaber later, but I liked Obi-Wan's because it was a simple sort of silver and black, mostly silver, but a little bit of black. I like that. It was just very simple. Very elegant, so I would probably go with that. And the color of the blade would probably be... Now, it's interesting. The fight choreographer for the prequels, Nick Gillard, pointed out that the original lightsaber, the one that has been in all of the Star Wars films since Revenge of the Sith, chronologically in universe, Luke's lightsaber, as we often call it, that the blade was actually lilac as opposed to blue. So I think for me, the blade would be... I'm torn between two of them, so here we go. One would be blue, but like a dark blue, like navy almost. And the other would be very like aqua, blue-green. I think that's what I would go for. So, simple hilt, like Obi-Wan's, silver and black. With a either dark blue or aqua blade. Now, if I wanted to be really crazy, I would have a lightsaber made out of wood. There's an episode of... There's actually a 4-episode arc in the Clone Wars of Ahsoka escorting Jedi Padawans to collect their lightsaber crystals on Ilum, the planet Ilum, and then construct their lightsabers. Now, the Wookiee Padawan, I forget his name, or youngling, I guess he's not really a Padawan at that point, gets a lightsaber hilt made out of wood. I kind of like the look. It was kind of a red wood, kind of a Kashyyyk wood. Something from the Wookiee home planet. If I wanted to be crazy, I would do something like that, where it's kind of a smooth red wood with an aqua blade. If I really wanted to go out on a limb, but I think, on a limb, no pun intended, but I think that I would stick with a silver and black with a dark blue blade. Let me know what kind of lightsaber you would want to have. So those are my thoughts on lightsabers in Star Wars. There's so much we could say about the importance of the lightsaber as an heirloom, in the case of Luke, or the importance of lightsabers throughout the Star Wars saga, like lightsaber duels. There's so much we could say. But I thought we would keep this real simple and just talk about lightsabers on a basic level. And maybe down the road I'll do more discussions of the importance of lightsabers in Star Wars. My name is Brendan Marr. That noise you're hearing is my ventilator. Thank you for tuning in to Page Turners They Were Not, my Star Wars podcast. May the Force be with you.